Here's Video Game Sophistry. Your one-stop shop for video games, news, reviews, and time-wasting fun.
Hi, I'm Andy Borkowski from Video Game Sophistry, talking today with Jonas out of Copenhagen. How are you, Jonas?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Very good. Now, today we are going to talk about your recent game, Expeditions Conquistador, developed with a little help from the fans from the site Kickstarter. Now, before we get into the game, what exactly is Kickstarter for those who don't know, and how does it work?
Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform where people can put up their own projects. They set a goal for the amount of funding that they need, and then they set a deadline when the funding has to be completed. And then if they achieve the goal before the deadline is finished, then they get the money. Otherwise, they get nothing.
Now back to the game Conquistador. What can you tell us about it?
It's a tactical role-playing game. Conquistador takes place in Central America around 1518. You take on the role of a Spanish explorer who has to travel to the mainland and engage with the natives and explore. And also a very big part of the game is about managing the party, making sure that they're well fed and happy and so on and so forth. And then if you run into a conflict, then there's a tactical combat system to resolve your problems.
Now, why the return to the tactical combat and choose your adventure sort of game? Why choose this sort of game to develop?
Well, it's very simple. We want to make this game because we want to play it. We like this kind of game, and it's, especially with the twists that we're adding, it's not really something that we've seen before. It's very, to us at least, a very interesting mixture of management and role-playing and tactics that we don't think we've really seen before.
Without giving too much away, I know you mentioned there's a little bit of ability to make different choices within the game. How will those different choices affect the outcome for players?
Well, first of all, they of course lead to different endings. We have quite a lot of different combinations of end games, so your final cinematic changes dynamically depending on the choices you've made throughout the game. Additionally, our aim is to make all of your little choices make as much of a difference in the sort of moment-to-moment gameplay and storyline as possible. So you'll find that entire communities may rally against you or join up to support you depending on how you choose to engage with them. And characters may live or die or join your enemies or join you depending on your decisions throughout the game.
Now, why choose this particular time period? It's not one that's normally talked about in video games. What drove you to that area of time?
We wanted to make a game about exploration. And it made sense for us to pick a time period that was very much about exploration, that had a lot of exploration in it. We didn't want to make something that was too traditional. We didn't want to go with your standard fantasy or science fiction setting. So something historical made sense for us. And then, of course, the age of exploration was the most immediate choice for a game that is very much about discovering new lands and engaging with the unknown.
You said yourself you're making this game for the number one reason because it's a game that you and your team would like to play. What are some of the influences that make Expeditions Conquistador what it is?
Oh, we have all sorts. We all played lots of games, of course. And I can mention, for example, King's Bounty is one of the inspirations for the world map part of the game where you travel around and explore and find things. And of course, it's split between the exploration part and the combat part is also something that we're doing. For the combat itself, I can mention stuff like Jagged Alliance 2, Baldur's Gate, Dungeons and Dragons. We've actually nicked quite a few mechanics directly from there. For the sort of resource management and decisions, there's of course Choose Your Own Adventure books. There's also the old school sort of Black Isle role-playing games. And I would say a bit of Oregon Trail, maybe.
Really? So it's really a callback to a lot of the games from the late 80s to the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to sort of update the formula a little bit, make it make it a little more easy to engage with in sort of modern sensibilities. But yes, most of our influences are pretty old school.
What do you think is the most important feature of this game that fans need to know about?
I would say our morale system. That's something that we're very proud of. Every follower has a set of personality traits, and these mainly determine when the follower will gain or lose morale. And then their behavior in the text events and the way they sort of chime in with their own opinion, and of course the way they decide to either leave you or stay with you or obey or not obey you, all of this plays in depending on what their morale is. And we think that's really an interesting thing. You have quite a large amount of followers for a role-playing game. You start out with 10, and you can gain more followers as the game progresses. And we keep track of all of that with their personality traits, which makes it really sort of come alive to us.
The Kickstarter process of developing games, how is that different from other development cycles that you've had the chance to work on?
I suppose that during this Kickstarter, we've kept working on the game itself, and it has been very stressful for us to have to manage the PR directly. We've been very involved in the process. We haven't hired another agency to do our PR for us, and of course that's created a lot of extra work for us. But on the other hand, it's really fun to be able to actually directly talk to the people who are interested in buying the game. It's almost like you have this pool of people who have pre-ordered the game in a sense, and you get to talk to them directly about what they expect. And of course, a lot of their expectations and their requests are completely unreasonable, but that's part of the fun as well, sort of engaging with them and explaining why that might not work or why we are thinking about it, but it might turn out a little different than they expect and stuff like that. It's been really rewarding for us to follow along with what people want and what people expect from us, and then, kind of answer them and talk to them, basically.
Yeah, it sounds like you have more connection to the fans than you normally would if you were just developing a game separately.
Precisely. And of course, since we're sort of asking for these people to fund us before they really know what we're doing, it does raise expectations quite a bit and pushes us to do the best that we possibly can, because we really don't want to let these people down. They're our core fans. Right?
Absolutely. Now, as of September 5th, you were slightly short of your goal with a week left. Anything you'd like to say to the fans who are on the fence about getting this game?
Just that we're listening to what they're saying, and we're trying to do justice to what they want, and to kind of, we really want to make a good game, basically, and we hope that if they can give us a bit of their money, we know it's a lot to ask for, because we're a bit of an unproven development team, and they technically have no guarantee if we can deliver. But we've really done our best to show that we've already got a functional game. It's already fun to play, and if you give $30 to the Kickstarter, then you'll be able to play what we have of the game as soon as the Kickstarter. And I think that's a pretty good sort of character.
A pretty good guarantee. Well, thanks again for taking the time, Jonas. All of the information regarding Expeditions Conquistador, including the Kickstarter link, will be available underneath this video. Anything else you'd like to say?
Thanks for having me, and thanks for your time, and thanks to anybody who listens to us.
Absolutely. I'm Andy Borkowski from Video Game Sophistry.
Head to www.puresophistry.com for more.